The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of our Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Y'all started from PBS Kids, what you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. Big City Greens is a show, in my opinion, that I would throw in the same category as The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers when it comes to animation. What exactly do I mean when I say that? I'm basically talking about a cartoon about a family that stands out from everyone in the place they live in for some strange reason. As with Bob's Burgers, they stand out because they have a burger restaurant. The Simpsons, they just dysfunctional as hell. And with Big City Greens, you basically have this family that lives in a house surrounded by big gentrified apartments. And also, I think it's important to note that Big City Greens humor doesn't appeal to just one specific age demographic. It appeals to everyone. There's humor in it for kids, there's humor in it for teenagers, and there's humor in it for adults of all ages. Those being in their early 20s, ranging to people up in their damn 60s. Because my dad be cracking the fuck up. Even though Big City Greens is family friendly in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily feel childish. And we never really seen another Disney series that is like this. And the two that I think compares the best when it comes to Big City Greens would have to be 1, Pepper Ann, and 2, The Proud Family. But even that is a stretch. Because Pepper Ann is a show that focuses on Pepper Ann and her friends mostly, and not necessarily her family. And with The Proud Family is the closest thing that Disney is ever gonna make to the equivalent of the Boondocks. Basically, The Proud Family, why I made that comparison to the Boondocks, is because it's a social commentary that surrounds the world of blackness and how it is with our society. By the way, I do recommend that you guys watch Pepper Ann. They put it on Disney Plus and they remastered it. It looks great. It's still funny as hell. Go watch it. But Big City Greens, in my opinion, it's an amazing series because it's one of the most original things that I have seen in a while when it comes to slice of life storytelling. But it doesn't get the same amount of attention as the 2 other big Disney animated series that came out around the same time. That being, you guessed it, The Owl House and Amphibia. Now these 2 shows are what you constantly see people online praising, okay? There's so much fan art, there's so many fan edits, it literally trends on fucking cartoon Twitter all the time. It's literally always in the damn fandom metrics on Tumblr, but I never really see the same amount of attention that Big City Greens gets when it's just as good as these 2 other shows. And also, I want to make a note is that I have yet to see anybody do any cosplays for Big City Greens when I go to cons, but I see numerous Amphibia cosplays and I see so many Owl House cosplays just as well. So this is my question. Why doesn't Big City Greens get the same amount of attention as Amphibia and Owl House? Let's figure it out. A cute little shameless plug. Everything for 24 days straight on my website, harriyannahook.com, is 35% off. Use code HOTSPOT35 for 35% off your order. Now let's continue. Now, the main point I want to bring up about this before I go into anything else is that Big City Greens is an episodic series, while The Owl House and Amphibia are shows that have a lore and are very much story driven, I'd say. It's about like the Ghost and Molly McGee, which is another series that just, it's cute. I love it, okay? But that's a whole nother topic for another discussion because there's some issues that went on with that casting. Ooh. The Big City Greens is a episodic show. You can come into the series watching it at any time, like you can with Bob's Burgers and The Simpsons, and you won't be necessarily lost. Yeah, it may take you a minute to adjust to the world and getting to know the characters a little bit, but overall, you can just come in at any time and just watch it. I'd say the first season of Amphibia was pretty much episodic, but also you have to remember that that first season actually is very much important to the rest of the show, and it is necessary to watch it. You don't have to watch every single episode of season 1, but there's a lot of key moments within that season that play into the later on episodes. And I'm not saying that Big City Greens is like The Simpsons where everything just get reset at the end. No, because so many things that do happen in Big City Greens are continuations of each other, because there's one storyline that has to do with Nancy, who is the mother of the 2 children in the Green family, where she go to jail and she get out, and then she's starting to visit them all the time. That is one consistent plot line that is within the series. And then we also see Gloria no longer living in her apartment, and then she ends up moving in with the Greens just as well. While Big City Greens does have a bit of a storyline, you don't necessarily need to be sitting down every single episode to understand what is going on for you to connect the dots. Editing me here, I am aware that The Simpsons does have some things in the show that don't get reset, like the entire thing with Flanders and his wives. I'm just saying, stuff sticks a lot more in Big City Greens than it do in The Simpsons. That was the point I'm trying to make, because I am aware that Lisa became a vegetarian later on and stayed that, but yes, more stuff happened here that makes sense, where in The Simpsons the shit just keep getting reset. So yeah, bye. Like, at one point in the series, Gloria does live with the Green family, but also in the episodes where we see that she's with them, you're not really questioning why she's there all that much. It's just like, oh, there's this person that's in the family for today. How nice. But one thing I have learned a lot is that a lot of y'all really don't like episodic shit. Like, y'all be wanting a continuation. Y'all be wanting an ongoing storyline, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I am somebody that is a person that just wants to laugh. I'm not always in the mood to be feeling things and crying, but also I kind of don't be having the time to be sitting down and watching television all the time. I prefer a show that I can just swing in at any moment and just watch what is on. That's part of the appeal of sitcoms, y'all. People like to shit on sitcoms, but for people that want to enjoy media, sitcoms are kind of the best thing for us to go to if we have so much going on in our life. Everybody likes to watch TV. I get that. I understand it. But it can be a bit frustrating when every single thing that you're watching, it has a continuing storyline and you're going to be lost. You just randomly come in at one point. I thank God for streaming and the internet, because back in the day, if you missed the episode, you just missed that shit. Because I remember I ended up missing a few episodes of Avatar season 2, like Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2, and I was so damn lost. And then when we got to season 3, you know, when they was in the Fire Nation outfits, I didn't know why they were dressed like that. I thought they were different people. So Big City Greens, in my opinion, it saves a lot from that confusion for anybody that just wants to swing in at any moment too. Because Amphibia honestly kind of got that problem just as well, because while you watch it and you see Anne is just there and it's pretty much episodic, you confused on how the fuck she got there in the first place, because she looks so different. And from that moment right there, and mind you, I watched Amphibia when it came out. A whole bunch of people did not watch that shit until season 2. Y'all not slick. Season 2 of Amphibia is when the show started to get more story driven than episodic, like how it was in season 1. Amphibia kind of turning into that shift of being story driven is what drew so many people towards it, because when it was episodic, nobody was checking for that shit. Shipping discourse, there is none. Like, absolutely fucking not. There's no type of shipping discourse with this show whatsoever, which I find very much interesting, because it's not like couples in the series don't exist, I'd say, because we have what is going on with Bill and Nancy, who are the divorced parents within the series, and we still see that they still have that love there with each other. And I'm pretty sure her ass going to jail has something to do with why they divorced, okay? But then also we do get flashbacks where But then we also do get flashbacks to scenes with the grandmother and her relationship with her past husband who has died. And then we also see things going on with Remy and Cricket. But then we see Tilly and her friend Andromeda. And I don't really necessarily see anybody shipping these characters together. And I feel like part of that has to do with the fact of how young they are, because I'm pretty sure all the kids in the show are like under the age of 12. They're pretty young, I'd say. Usually shipping discourse happens more so with teenage fictional characters and adults, but usually the characters that are fairly younger, you know, like 6th grade at oldest, to be honest, that is like the only place where we don't see that. Big City Greens, in my opinion, is a series that doesn't really play into shipping discourse, I'd say, because shipping discourse, honestly, is what be ruining a lot of y'all shows, alright? And shipping discourse also has led to a lot of things within series that I didn't necessarily agree with. That came a lot from the Walt Disney Company. I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on this one, but I wasn't here for Kim and Ron getting together. And I truly feel that one of the main reasons why they decided to put these two together in a romantic relationship is because so many of the fans liked it. I wasn't here for it. I never really kind of got the impression that Kim saw Ron more than a friend. I did see that she loved him. Like, yeah, you can love your friends. I do think Kim did love Ron, but I never really got the feeling that she was into him like that, because she was constantly going after other guys, and then they just got together at the end of that damn movie, and I'm telling you, I was pissed. I even knew as a little kid I didn't want them together. Also, Kim and Ron getting together also kind of ruined the last season of the series for me, because it just felt a bit unexpected, and then it just smacked us in the face. And then, I don't know, Kim low-key changed as a character too when she got with him. I just was not feeling that last season of Kim Possible, and them putting Kim and Ron together was part to blame. Another series I could say where a ship low-key kind of ruined it overall, y'all know the show that we're always extremely hard on because it let us down overall, would have to be Star versus the Forces of Evil. I never got the vibe that Star and Marco went into each other romantically in the first season. They were people that loved each other platonically, not romantically. But when the show started to ping pong them together because they saw how popular this ship was with its fans, that is when shit started to hit the fan and everything got worse. And mind you, Star and Marco were not the only ship within the show. There was a lot of ships with this series that came, you know, with more characters as they came along the way, because I know there was a big thing with this guy named Tom and Marco being shipped together. And Tom, by the way, is Star's ex-boyfriend. So that's just kind of like set up for execution for drama. They noticed how much people really enjoyed Tom being there with him being Star's ex-boyfriend, so they decided to play along with that and put him in the show more, and it just got old quick. It just got annoying. Star vs. the Forces of Evil is a series that just started to feel like fan service. And I noticed another thing with Amphibia is that a lot of people tend to ship the main circle of girls together. While they're super duper best friends, they love each other through thick and thin, but also the girls are like slightly older than the kids in Big City Greens are. And also, a lot of the kids in Big City Greens look like 7-year-olds, okay? Because they're not that young. Cricket is like 11, but he looks 8. The girls in Amphibia are 13 and they look 13. So everyone's like, yeah, teenagers have crushes on each other, ranging hormones. Let's go. Hey, editing me here. I feel like I need to say a little bit more about that. Where I was talking about how people don't really ship when it comes to like younger kids in media, and that's simply because a lot of us in real life, we did not start to, you know, develop crushes on people until we were in middle school, because in middle school is when people started to date and everything like that. I know, like, when I was in 5th grade and in 4th grade, that's when, like, a lot of the kids that I was around started to develop crushes and whatnot. But middle school is, like, when people actually started to date. So, yeah. And then Owl House, that fandom is literally just built off the ships. Like, I'm not even joking. Like anytime I hear somebody having any kind of discussion with the Owl House, it's about one of the relationships or one of the ships that have to do with the series. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, by the way, because the relationships within the series are one of the reasons why it's highly praised. Now we will be back after these brief messages. Hi everyone, the captain here. I just wanted to get on here real quick and tell you guys thank you so much for your support. I have gotten so much fan art from you guys, and I've met plenty of y'all in person at the conventions that I have been at. And also thank you guys so much for coming to the panels that I host. It means so much to me. You guys are so great. I appreciate every little last bit of support you guys give me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can say thank you 100 times, but I truly do mean it. Thank you. So let's move on to the aesthetic. Big City Greens looks very much funky, I'd say, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but Big City Greens has that adult animation appeal like a Bob's Burgers or the Simpsons does, and that being the animation kind of ugly. It's kind of funny because, you know, like with the Simpsons, everybody is like yellow, like all the white people are yellow. Big City Greens is like that just as well, where the main family is fucking yellow. But then you look around and you're like, wait a minute, those people are white too, but they're not yellow either. It's kind of funny. Literally everyone is a different color, but it's so funny when it comes to characters being different colors within the show, is that you can tell who's black and who's white. It's honestly kind of bizarre. When you look at it at first glance, you're like, but when you actually watch it and pay attention, you start to pick up on some things and you're like, oh, that's what that character is. They're just a different skin tone. I think I find it very much funny because when it comes to animation, you can pretty much do anything. The possibilities are endless. With animation, shit does not have to look realistic. And I appreciate that, okay? Even though Big City Greens is a slice of life show, pretty much every single last thing in the show that happens is something that is possible to happen in real life. We have been in numerous situations like there have been within the show, especially everything that goes on with the coffee shop. So we have this simple show and we have this simple concept that goes along with it, with a family from the rural area moving into a big American city. What could we do that would make it stand out from just some regular smegular sitcom? And they were like, you know what, let's play around with the designs. Let's make everyone look really fucking weird. And I'm gonna be real, as much as I like Big City Greens and I enjoy the way it looks, I appreciate the creativity that it brings into the animation department with it looking so different from plenty of other things. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people say that they don't like Big City Greens because they think its animation is ugly and they don't want to look at it. And I kid you not, I legit refused to watch King of the Hill for the longest because I thought it looked like ass. I did not like it, okay? Like, if y'all watch my friend Tariq, I even said something about that when I was on this channel. I just could not. The animation made me itchy. But then I remembered I watched Daria, and that animation made me itchy too, but I still pretty much loved it. But Here's the thing. I understand why people don't want to watch Big City Greens because they don't like the way it looks, because I'm someone that's very much particular about the way things look. But also when it comes to the Owl House, and then it comes to Amphibia, even though Amphibia is a damn frog show, all of those things are amphibians, the people in it look pretty much normal. I'd say they look like people that you would see regular schmegular out here. And while the Owl House, a lot of these characters are not human, they look like humans though. They just have smart little features about them that let you know, oh, they're from another world, they're not from here. And then I hate to bring up Star versus the Forces of Evil, but even though Star was not human, she was an alien, and along with all the other aliens that we saw with the series, their character designs were really fucking cute. Like, so cute. That's the main reason why I watched Star versus the Forces of Evil in the first place. And I hate the fact that I ended up hating the show so much when it got to around season 3, because I just couldn't stand it anymore, is because the animation got more and more beautiful. The aesthetic of Star versus the Forces of Evil is so nice, but that story got so bad, it just wasn't worth it anymore at that point. At this rate, I can take something being kind of ugly and being great than something that looks beautiful and it'd be fucking awful. Like Euphoria. And the last point that I want to get on when it comes to why Big City Greens doesn't really get the same amount of attention as the Owl House and Amphibia is it's not a teen series. It does not feel like a teen show at all. If we were to throw Big City Greens in a manga category, it most likely would be Josei and Shinen. But it fits more in the Josei storyline, I'd say, because the women in it aren't necessarily over-sexualized, but it doesn't feel like a teen series. The kids in the show are not teenagers, and if they are, they don't look like it, because I know Cricket is 11 and that Tilly is older than him, so that means Tilly has to be at least 12, maybe 13. But Tilly looks 8. And I love Tilly. I love her outfit. I think she's so cute. I've been wanting to cosplay as her for a minute. But all the kids in Big City Greens just look like 6-year-olds. And it's honestly kind of funny, and it's something that makes the show stick out. But when you watch the Owl House, and when you watch Amphibia, and then when you just go and watch a lot of these other animated Disney series, Pepper Ann, I'd say, for example, and the Proud Family, where the kids are teenagers, they actually do look like teenagers. And a lot of teenagers do watch cartoons. A lot of teenagers are the ones that are in fandom and gets the stuff trending and all of that. They want characters to look like them. They want characters to resemble them. And while Big City Greens don't resemble nobody. Like, no. If anything, it's like the kids it's like when it comes to Big City Greens, you have like 3 categories. You have the kids in the show, and they all look like they're like under the age of 9. We see teenagers come in here and there, but they're not really the focus of the show. Thank God, because the teenagers in this show are insufferable. I'm pretty sure that's the point of them being there. And then we have the people in their 20s. We have characters of importance in a Disney show that are in their 20s. That's not Big Hero 6. I love that. Thank you. And then we have everybody that's just pushing 50 after that. And then we have the super old people like Alice, the grandmother. That's another reason why I make the comparison to The Simpsons. You have this wide range of adult and kid characters, and the show doesn't necessarily focus on one group of those. One episode will get an episode about Cricket and Tilly, and then the next episode we'll get into some scenarios going on with the adults in the series, whether it is Bill and Nancy or Gloria, who is a woman in her 20s. And sometimes the episodes just flip-flop back and forth with each other. Sometimes we'll be dealing with the stuff with the kids, and then next few minutes we'll be dealing with the stuff with the adults, and it goes back and forth until it all comes together in the end. Another reason why I said the show just kind of appeals to people of all ages. It's not targeted at one specific group. But Amphibia and the Owl House, I do consider those 2 shows to be teen series, because these shows heavily do focus on the struggles of being a teenager, while Big City Greens don't. When it comes to the subject of fandom, a lot of the shows that have the most popular fandoms, say 7 times out of 10, these shows are focused on kids. And I also want to make a note of it is that the show does heavily focus on adults. Like I said, that's the reason why I made that comparison to The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. Usually, oftentimes when we're watching Disney shows and we see a villain within the series, oftentimes that villain is an adult, and that would be like the only adult within that show. I take Kim Possible with Shigo, for example. Shigo and Draken were 2 of the adults we saw all the damn time within the show, but they were villainized and they were extremely goofy. Shigo and Draken were not treated like humans, okay? And then also moving on from Kim Possible, another show from Disney that did focus on an adult would have to be Phineas and Ferb, but Doofenshmirtz is literally just a character. He's a hot ass mess. He doesn't necessarily feel real. He doesn't feel human like Shigo and Draken do. And I feel like part of the reason that has to do with the fact with the way they have him designed. And I low-key think that Doofenshmirtz's design is rooted in anti-Semitism. Oh Jesus, the fact that I just realized that now. Like I said in my last video, Disney needs to leave Jewish people alone because they feel like they can see themselves within these characters. And a lot of these people that do watch these series, that are big fans of them, they are teenagers or they're just entering adulthood in their early 20s, and they could highly pretty much relate to them. Because one of my friends, they told me that Anne is a lot like them even though they're grown, but they were like, no, that's me. I get that. I understand. I completely get it. Amphibia and Owl House, with those being teen series, people are able to insert themselves a little bit more within the story. But with Big City Greens, you can't really do that much, I'd say, unless you're an adult and you can relate to every little last thing Gloria is going through. It's sad. It's bad out here. With all this being said, none of this shit makes Big City Greens a bad show, okay? But I will have to admit, it's not for everyone. And that is fine. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. But one thing about Big City Greens is that it low-key does not really play too much into fandom culture. Like trying to do things for the fans. Playing around with fan service and that of the sorts. I feel like the other Disney animated series that had big fandoms, I even throw Gravity Falls in there just as well, they paid a lot of attention to what the fans of the series were saying, and they ping-ponged a lot of that within the show. And with Big City Greens, I feel like another reason that just doesn't necessarily happen is because we don't really see people saying much about the show. We see it, we watch it, we laugh and we giggle, and then we just carry on with our day. You don't necessarily see people making fan theories or whatever the fuck for Big City Greens. You just don't. And honestly, this show doesn't really necessarily need it because it's not story driven. It's just fun. Big City Greens is just a super duper fun show, and I feel like a lot of y'all just don't like fun no more.
Powerpuff Girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup fight villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their ruts. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay. They come in